Hello everyone, this is Tina with Tia's Treasures, and today we're going to see what's in the HeroArts monthly kit. We have the premium kit here. First we'll see what's in the classic kit. Of course, it always comes with this mesh bag, which is great for storing these kits. We get a reactive ombre ink. I wanted to open this up and see what color it is. I have a feeling, but I've never really used one of these ink pads with the multiple colors, but this one, if it's what I think it is, might be fun to use. Get that open. Oh, why not? We get the 3 greens and the blues. That might be kind of pretty. So it comes with this background stamp. Looks like it's 2.5 by 3 to me. And where's my? It is, okay, it's 3 3/4 by 3. So I was off a bit. We have these stamps. Nice little silhouette stamps, some frogs and bugs and butterflies and florals and grass, and we've got a bunch of different sentiments. Go wild, friend, you're the best, life's a picnic, hello, explore nature, find your bliss, have a beautiful day. That looks like find your bus to me, but it's a L-I. Okay. It also comes with these dies. These do not cut out any of the stamps, but we have like dandelions. I believe this is like a tree die. I want to say none of these cards. Oh, this right here is what the one die looks like. I don't know if you can see that little tree background. And we have a little grass right there. And that's our classic kit. The premium kit comes with some paper. We have, let's see, what color is this? Does it tell me? It tells me. This is pesto. And then we have 2 wood grains. And this is passion flower. I assume. I'm thinking this isn't pesto and the green passion flower. So, and then we also have ephemera, which I am not going to open up, but it is like all the stuff pretty much that's in the stamps in like little colors, wild color palette there. And we get some frame cuts. Picnic basket frame cuts. We have water, a picnic basket, grape, pie, wine, bread, wine glass, little picnic scene right there. All fun stuff. So anyway, I am going to make some cards with this. So this first card I'm making is a pretty easy one. What I am going to be doing is I'm stamping the purple cardstock, lilac cardstock, whatever you want to call it, with the background stamp. And I'm going to be using grape slush color ink cube that I've got from a previous Hero kit. I've got a couple ink colors from HeroArts that I'm going to be using on this card. I end up not using the ombre ink pad I got, even though it's very pretty, and I'll probably use it later in previous and subsequent projects. So anyhow, this stamp just, it was a dream to stamp. It just stamped out beautifully. And it dried back a little bit and wasn't quite as dark once it dried, but it really turned out pretty. So I'm taking a piece of the ephemera, which is another shade of purple, and I'm just going to be gluing that on top. I'm tripping over my own tongue. And so I'm making sure everything is going to fit, and I'm trying to figure out which sentiment I'm going to use. And I end up choosing "You're the Best." And for the sentiment, I'm going to be bringing in grape juice colored ink. So everything on this stamp is purple. We've got a purple background with some purple ephemera and a purple sentiment. And it just all works. It all looks very nice together. I think so anyway. And I've got this background, the purple cardstock cut down because I'm going to leave a white frame around everything. I find that way if I end up cutting my cardstock a little off, you're not going to be able to tell. Whereas if I have a piece of cardstock that fits the entire front of a card base, sometimes you get these little slivers of white that show, and that really annoys me. And so then I have to cut them off, and it's just, I find it easier sometimes just to make a white frame around my card. If you have the same problem, let me know. I'd love to know I'm not the only one whose card bases shift a bit when I'm cutting them. And it's just fraction of an inch. It drives me nuts. So anyhow, like I said, I'm gluing down everything flat on this card. There's not going to be very much dimension on it, but it will go through the mail easily that way. And at the last minute, I decide this card needs just a little bit more, so I bring out some iridescent little sequins, or confetti, I guess you'd call them. They're little bitty dots. They've got no lip on them at all. They're completely flat, and they're from Tonic, and they're from, I think, an old card kit that I had from Tonic. And I finally just now opened these up and using them for the first time on this card. And I'm just kind of scattering them across the card from the upper right hand to the lower left hand side. I'm going to get them all glued down. And it's going to be pretty much it for this card. Now this kit, I did intend to use the ombre ink. And for whatever reason, I forgot about it till I started filming and doing this voiceover. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I did mention in the beginning that that ink was pretty and I thought I was going to do something with it. But alas, I did not. So you're just going to have to imagine me using it. And if I would have used it, it would have been on the stamp that kind of looks like the ephemera we just used. Now for my second card here, I've got the green cardstock, and I had used the die and cut out kind of that tree silhouette, and I'm going to use a little bit of HeroArts Moss ink, and I'm just going to kind of highlight the top and bottom of this card, adding a little bit of shading, because I figured this card could use a little shading. And then I've got a little piece of blue cardstock that I just pulled out of my scrap pile that I used the water dye on because I thought this card needed a little bit of water in the background. And I am using Desert Storm cardstock. And even though on the last card I just said I don't really like when I have to glue an entire card front to a card base because my card bases sometimes are a little off. In this particular case, my card base was spot on, or my card front was off, one of the two, but it works. There's really not much white showing. It kind of went where it was supposed to go, and everything worked for a change. There was no great big like white white pieces sticking out. And so with this card here, I am going to go ahead And I am going to stamp a little bitty frog from the stamp set and a grasshopper. Now these two little critters just happen to face each other, and that's for a reason. And I am going to stamp them in, I believe, maybe some HeroArts root beer colored ink. Or no, that's Cup of Joe. That was root beer for some reason. But I am stamping it in brown. I thought black would be a little bit too harsh. And so I just figured the brown would go really well. And then I am going to heat emboss the sentiment. Now, I don't know if you've been following me for long or if you just kind of stumbled onto my video, but my sense of humor can be a little bit warped. And so for the sentiment, we are going to use Life's a Picnic. And that is why the frog is staring at the grasshopper. You know, we might not get a picnic, but that frog's certainly gonna have a full belly in another second or two. So I'm gonna get that stamped out in the Cup of Joe ink, and then I'm going to heat emboss it. I didn't need to heat emboss it, but I figured a little shine would not hurt. Now, I don't know if you can hear my dogs are barking in the background, because just like they do every single video I do a voiceover, they find something to bark about. I think it's because I'm shutting them out of the room and they get a little bit mad at me. And so they have nothing better to do than look out the window and find things to bark at. And I do put that sentiment right in the middle up there. And I'm going to use some clear embossing powder from just Ranger. It's not the WOW brand. I believe it's just the Ranger brand. I thought I had some HeroArts clear embossing powder, but I do not. I have a lot of other HeroArts embossing powders, but they're mostly stuff like with sparkles and that kind of thing. I have some HeroArts sand, some HeroArts cast iron, you know, some things that wouldn't look really great on the card. So I got a little extra embossing powder there where the ink probably wasn't completely dry, but a paintbrush took that off, a dry paintbrush. And I am going to just tape that water right where I want it. I already have it cut down on the sides because as I was getting these cards ready, I wanted to make sure everything fit where it was supposed to. So I'm just going to leave that tape there, but I'm going to glue down the sides of the water so they stick to these trees, and then I'm just going to put glue all over the back. I'm going to leave the tape on. I mean, there's no reason really to take it off. I could take it off because I have the water glued down. But we are just going to go ahead and write out like in that little bitty space. That means you, if you like this video. See, I'm trying to get you to like it before you watch the whole thing because why not? Helps me, helps the algorithm, helps you watch more of my videos or more videos like mine. You know, and if you don't like my video, maybe you just want to like hate watch it. Well, that's okay too. You can watch it and yell at me and say, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? I don't care why you're here. I just appreciate that you are. So thank you. I've been in a strange mood all day, so my rambling's a little worse than usual. So I'm getting that glued down really well. And I am going to add a little bit of white gel pen to it because it just, I'm looking at it going, well, I don't really want to add sequins because I really don't have any greens or any blues that I think are going to match. And I put a little white on the frog, and I'm like, well, where am I going to put it on the grasshopper? And he just gets one little dot, and they're a little bit on the river, and that's it. I'm afraid to overdo it, so I don't put a lot on there at all. Now for this third card, this was fun. I took, again, the green paper with the Desert Storm cardstock again. Now that one I did cut down. And I took some gold foil cardstock that I had in my stash, and I die cut out a bunch of, well, I say a bunch of dandelions, just the 3 that they had dies for, along with the 3 little seeds that are coming off. And then I took 2 pieces of the grass, the dies, and I cut each of those out. Now, I would have cut out 3 pieces of grass to, because I always think 3s are better than 2, but I was out of the green cardstock. So, yeah, that's why we only have like 2 little tufts of grass instead of 3. Now, this card I did put foam tape on the back of. It's some nice inch wide foam tape I got from Cherry on Top. Nice big roll. Now, this first dandelion seedling, I put glue all over, and it took a while. And then I said, I don't feel like doing that again. So I took out some Simon Says dot paper, dot adhesive paper, and I just am going to use that on all the rest of my die cuts because I can be a lazy crafter. You see those, my little grass tufts there? It's like, I actually ink blended the top of the grass a little bit with that same moss that I used on the previous card. Just so if you're wondering why it's a slightly different color. But here I just cut a piece of that dot adhesive, and I am just throwing everything on it. Now once you get these die cuts on that adhesive, you need to burnish it really good for the adhesive to stick. And I do find sometimes with the real small die cuts, it doesn't get enough of the adhesive on the back to stay stuck. So I believe, even though I don't show it, I do end up going back and using glue on the little seedlings that I stick down, because after I had turned off the camera, they came unstuck to my card front, and so I used my liquid glue to glue them down. But this stuff, this adhesive from Simon Says Stamps, it's I use it a lot simply because it does give you the opportunity to go back in and add adhesive to the back of your die cuts if you forget to use an adhesive sheet before you cut them. And sometimes even with adhesive sheets, with these I can't say that word, intricate die cuts, your machine, or my machine should say, has trouble cutting through multiple layers, and it's just a pain in the butt if I add extra sheets of cardstock to try to get it to cut out. It just makes it a little hard. So I didn't like where that second piece of grass was. It was down a little bit too low, I thought. And so I just moved that up a little bit, because you have to burnish your pieces down when you're using that adhesive too. It does make it easy to move things around if you decide you don't like it. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to heat emboss on this card as well. You see I'm burnishing down those little pieces there, and I do end up gluing them. But I thought, I don't know what I thought. It's been a strange day today. It's pretty hot here in Illinois, and I think maybe I have some like heat damage to my head. So I'm going to bring in my Misty now. I've got the stick and stamp mat, and I should have heat embossed it my sentiment before I put on the foam tape, but I didn't peel the foam tape back, so I just went ahead and removed my foam tab from the Misty, and it worked out. But I was a little bit worried about getting the heat on my sentiment being as I had foam tape behind it, I thought it might warp a little bit, but it really didn't cause any issues at all. And I'm going to use the sentiment, have a beautiful day, and I'm going to use the Brutus Monroe Gilded Gold Embossing Powder. That's a nice warm gray, and it's just really pretty. So I get that nice and heat embossed, and we're just gonna center my card base right on top of the Desert Storm cardstock. And I think this green that I believe was it pesto colored is really, really pretty. It's a nice looking green. Now for this last card here, this is another one with my weird sense of humor. I took a circle die and I am just using that grape slush. No, not the grape slush. I believe it's, oh, it might be grape slush. I can't read it from. I'm looking at a little bitty picture while I'm doing this voiceover. It could be reactive thistle. It's a soft purple. And I'm just going around my circle. And I am taking some Love from Lizzie peel-offs. I have a ton of these, and I usually forget to use them. I was going to put a piece of gold mirrored cardstock across my card, which you can do if you want to make a card like this. But I just, because I have all these Love from Lizzie peel-offs, I'm just putting 3 stripes down diagonally across, and I'm going to lay this circle on top of it. Now, like I was saying earlier, I put the ink around the edge of my circle. I used a blending brush. I think a blending foam would have maybe made a more even amount of ink if that's what you're going for, but I didn't mind it being a little thicker in areas and thinner in others. Now I've got these 3 die cuts that I went ahead and Copic colored off camera. Just real simple coloring. I've got the wine bottle, the wine glass, and grapes. And like I said, it was really simple Copic coloring. It's not even the best coloring, but I just wasn't going to subject you to watching me color these, and probably let out a couple cuss words when they didn't get colored completely to the way I wanted them to turn out. You know, that wine glass, I kept trying to get a straight line of wine across. I used a mask and it still kept seeping underneath, and that wine glass just kept getting more and more wine in it because the color kept seeping underneath it, which is why that glass is almost full to the top. Or it could just be I drink a lot. I don't know. Not really. But again, my sense of humor, I decided with this card and the wine and the grapes, I was just going to stamp out Find Your Bliss. And, you know, this purple ink, it dyes your stamps just as much as red ink. And this is grape juice ink, which is perfect with the grapes and the wine. So perfect color, perfect name. Find Your Bliss with our wine bottle and our wine glass. And yeah, so I thought about embossing this as well, but decided against it in the end. And I am just going to glue down that circle. I guess I'm going to glue down the front before we do the circle. I don't even know what order I do things in. So we're going to get that all nice and glued down on my card base. It always amazes me when I do these voiceovers. I have a lot of things I plan to say, and then I get in front of my computer and sit down to do the voiceover, and most of it flies out of my head. I guess I could do a script, but what's the fun in that? And so that circle is just glued right there in the center. And I figured with the shine from the strips, that was it. So these are my 4 cards. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know if anybody else's glass mat gets as nasty looking when they're like fingerprints all over it as mine. But anyway, that's it. Bye bye for now, everyone.